Shalom, brothers and sisters. Grace, mercy, and peace be unto you from Yahuwah, our Father. And Yahusha, he is the Mashiach, the one who carries the burden of Yah. His voice, our high priest, soon coming king. Hear, O Yasharal, Yahuwah, who is our mighty one, he is one. There is no other mighty one, brothers and sisters, than Yahuwah, and Yahusha is his voice. This is Brother Mayaka coming to you today with part 2 of the path of years given back to Yasharal, and a question. What is the path of years? And all the children of Yasharal will forget and will not find the path of years, and will forget the new moons and seasons and Sabbaths, and they will go wrong as to all the orders of the years. Only a remnant shall return to this path, brothers and sisters. Are you one of them? Let's begin. The path of years. The path of years is when the sun, moon, and stars work together in the heavens to give us the time without us making adjustments. When the Father set the heavens and earth, the sun, moon, and stars in place, everything is perfect. He doesn't require the help of anyone. Habayab, recorded in the book of the Baryam in the ancient Paleo-Abarya script. This is the first month of the year for the children of Yasharal. How do you find the month of Habayab? Can you find it by adding a 13th month using the gentiles' Metonic cycle? Is it found through a barley harvest? Can you find it by trying to keep the Pasa unto Yahuwah in the springtime by waiting for the first renewed moon after the equinox? The answer is no, brothers and sisters. Well, how can we find it? You can find the month of Habayab simply by looking up, knowing the starting point, and keeping the correct count. Looking up. The Creator's time is in the sky. The sun, moon, and stars all work together, but the face of the moon is like the face of a watch, each phase indicating a week, and is how the children of Yasharal kept the time. Knowing the starting point. In March 2018, Yahuwah stretched forth his hand to the children of Yasharal and gave us back the path of the years. March 18, 2018 was the first day of the new year and for the lunar cycle when the sun and moon were perfectly aligned. Keeping the correct count. This will require you to discard gentilian thinking in regards to how the master of the universe counts his time. In an attempt to bring understanding to the path of years, we will reference mostly the books of Barashat, Genesis, chapter 1, verses 1 through 5, Yahuwah, Jubilees, chapter 6, verse 32, and chapter 6, verses 34 through 36, and the book of Enoch, chapter 41, verses 4 and 6. Let's find the path of years. Yahuwah, Jubilees, chapter 6, verse 34. Verse 34. And all the children of Yasharal will forget and not find the path of years, and will forget the new moons and seasons and Sabbaths, and they will go wrong as to all the orders of the years. How do we lose all these things, and why? Because of disobedience, brothers and sisters. We went into captivity, and with that our heritage was stripped away from us. Yahuwah, Jubilees, chapter 6, verse 35. Verse 35. For I know, and from henceforth will I declare it unto you, and it is not of my own devising. For the Sefer lies written before me, and on the heavenly tablets the division of days is ordained, lest they forget the feast of the covenant, and walk according to the feasts of the other nations, after their error and after their ignorance. The heavenly tablets are ordained by the Creator of the universe. Do you think by adding calculations or 13th month because the barley harvest isn't right, like the Jews, or trying to keep this Pasa unto Yahuwah fixed in the springtime, is going to change that which is forever ordained in heaven? Because that is exactly what a lot of our brothers and sisters are doing right now. Yahuboyam, Jubilees Chapter 6, verse 36. Verse 36. For there will be those who will assuredly make observations of the moon, how it disturbs the seasons and comes in from year to year, 10 days too soon. There will be some who see the moon naturally falling behind the sun after a few years and say, we have to bring it back. The moon is falling too far behind. Let me ask you a question, brothers and sisters. Where does the Father instruct us to make any adjustments in this book? The answer is nowhere. In order to get a better understanding of the path of years, let's start from the beginning. Let us look at the first year of creation. Barashat, Genesis, chapter 1, verses 1 through 5. Verse 1. In the beginning, Alayam created the heavens and the earth. Who are the Alayam? The Alayam are the watchers, the angels, or the messengers of Yahuwah. Yahuwah gives the command, and the Alayam carry them out. Here we can find Alayam in the ancient Paleo-Abarya script. Barashat, Genesis, chapter 1, verse 2. Verse 2. And the earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep. And the Ruah Alayam moved upon the face of the waters. So the heavens and earth were already created, or else the Ruah Alayam could not be moving upon the face of the waters. At creation, the sun and moon were both dark, meaning the sun had 354 days and the moon had 354 days. So there was a dark moon and the sun without the lights turned on. The earth was dark. Barashat, Genesis, chapter 1, verse 3. Verse 3. And Alayam said, let there be light. And there was light. Guess what light was turned on first? If you said the sun, you are correct. The sun was turned on first. Uyares, or the sun, begins his solar cycle. The sun is turned on and rises in the east to begin traversing its course. It travels for 12 hours before it sets in the western sky. The sun rose in the east and began its solar cycle when it was turned on and began traversing its way west throughout the day for 12 hours, as referenced in the book of Hanuk, chapter 41, verse 4. Hanuk, chapter 41, verse 4. Verse 4. I beheld also the receptacles of the sun and the moon, whence they came, whether they proceeded, their glorious return, and how one became more splendid than another. I marked their rich progress, their unchangeable progress, their disunited and undiminished progress, their observance of a mutual fidelity by a stable oath, The sun goes out first and completes its journey, in obedience to the command of Yahuwah, our mighty one. Potent is his name forever and ever. The book of Hanuk, chapter 41, verse 4, confirms that the sun would go out first and complete its journey, meaning the sun would begin its cycle before the moon. The moon rises with the sun and travels all day with the sun for 12 hours until the sun sets in the west. Then the sun transfers a half of a seventh portion of light to the moon, and Hadash appears just as the sun dips below the horizon. Hadash, found here in the ancient Paleo-Abarya script. Hadash is in the sky for only a short period of time, because it has to set and follow the sun to the other side of the earth to ride with it for 12 hours and receive its light for the other side. So let me ask you a question, brothers and sisters. From the time the sun rose until the sun set, how many hours did the sun have its light? If you said 12 hours, you are correct. The sun had its light for 12 hours before it set. Now, the sun traverses to the other side of the earth and rises in the east. It then travels for 12 hours, then sets in the west. Before it arrived there was only darkness. But now, there is light. At this point, brothers and sisters, the sun has traversed its course of 12 hours on one side of the earth and 12 hours on the other side of the earth, completing its cycle. And now it returns to the east according to the scripture and the law of the sun. The moon has not traversed its entire course yet, so the sun would have to rise again in the east and traverse throughout the day for 12 additional hours, then set in the west for the moon to complete its cycle, beginning day 2 for the moon. Barashat, Genesis, chapter 1, verse 4. Verse 4. And Alayam saw the light, that it was good, and Alayam divided the light from the darkness. Light and darkness were separated. Lexicon, Strong's H7200, Hebrew word for saw is ra'ah. Its biblical use in this context is to see, to observe, to consider, to look at, to give attention to discern, or to distinguish. Renewed Moon's Day could not be declared until after both lights have traversed their complete courses on time and in order. The Alayam inspected the light and saw that everything was working properly and on time and said it was good. As the sun began its second day, the day became longer than the night, as we see recorded here in the book of Hanuk, chapter 72, verses 43 and 44. Hanuk, chapter 72, verses 43 and 44. Verse 43. The lengthening of the day and the night and the contraction of the day and night are made to differ from each other by the progress of the sun. Verse 44. By means of this progress, the day is daily lengthened and the night greatly shortened. Barashat, Genesis, chapter 1, verse 5. Verse 5. And Alayam called the light day, and the darkness they called night, and evening and the morning were the first day. Where do you think the Alayam started their count, brothers and sisters? They started their count from the evening, which gives us an evening to evening count. And what light comes out in the evening? If you said the moon, you are correct. The moon comes out in the evening. This would be the first work day of 6 of your weekly Sabbath count. Now that we have a clear understanding of creation, let us move our focus to how the moon falls naturally behind the sun in the amount of 10 days each year. The answer can be found in the book of Hanuk, chapter 74, verse 11. Hanuk, chapter 74, verse 11. Verse 11. At those times, there is an excess of 30 days belonging to the sun in 5 years. All the days belonging to each year of the 5 years, when completed, amount to 364 days. And to the sun and stars belong 6 days, 6 days in each of the 5 years, 30 days belonging to them. So in the first month of creation, we know the sun had a 12-hour surplus or excess of days. How did we get this 12 hours? When the sun rose, it went 12 hours before the renewed moon appeared. For us, this 12 hours is seen every month. On this day, the moon rises with the sun and rides with it completely unseen all that day until the sun sets in the west. And just as the sun dips below the horizon, then Hadash appears. Now let's find the 6-day overplus or surplus that was mentioned in the book of Hanuk, Enoch, chapter 74, verse 11. There are 12 months for the sun, and there are 12 months for the moon. The sun having 364 days, and the moon having 354 days. So you have 12 months, and you have 12 hours per month. When you break this down, in 6 months, it will equal 3 days. 12 hours per month times 6 months equals 72 hours or 3 days. 3 days plus 3 days equals 6 days. The moon has fallen naturally behind the sun in the first year of creation. So in the first year of creation, there was a 6-day surplus for the sun, bringing its number of days from 354, like the moon, to 360 days. However, the Alayam added an additional 4 intercalary days that are not added to the count for the year, as described here in the book of Hanuk, chapter 75, verses 2 and 3. Hanuk, chapter 75, verses 2 and 3. Verse 2. And these serve 4 days, which are not calculated in the calculation of the year. Verse 3. Respecting them, men greatly err, for the luminaries truly serve in the dwelling place of the world, 1 day in the first portal, 1 in the third portal, 1 in the fourth portal, and 1 in the sixth portal. 6 days excess plus an additional 4 intercalary days from the Alayam equals a total of 10 days the moon falls naturally behind the sun in the first year, bringing the total number of days for the sun to 364 days, as recorded on the heavenly tablets in the book of Ya'ubalyam, Jubilees, Chapter 6, verse 32. Ya'ubalyam, Jubilees, Chapter 6, verse 32. Verse 32. And command you, the children of Yasharal, that they observe the years according to this reckoning, 364 days, and these will constitute a complete year, and they will not disturb its time from its days and from its feasts, for everything will fall out in them according to their testimony, and they will not leave out any day nor disturb any feasts. When the moon falls naturally behind the sun in the amount of 10 days every year, this is by design by the creator of the universe. The Alayam inspected or observed the light and saw that it was good. If the Alayam said that it was good, meaning the sun, moon, and stars are operating on time and correctly, what gives anyone the authorization to change this natural order? For example, adding a 13th month to align the moon with the sun, or waiting for the first renewed moon after the equinox to keep the first month in the spring. It is impossible to find the first month on the Gregorian calendar, and you cannot find the first month without being on the path of years. Do not disturb the natural order. When you disturb the path of years or the natural order of the years by adding time, a 13th month like the Jews, or waiting for the first renewed moon to catch up to the sun after the equinox to find your first month, you will dislodge all of your feast days and your muadyams, or appointed times, and you will go wrong as to all the orders of the years. Yahuwah, the master of the universe, is in control of all things, brothers and sisters. He controls the storehouses that house the rain, the snow, the heat, the cold, the wind, and all the elements. When you say that the first month can't be in a winter month or any month outside of March or April, and you take it upon yourself to make adjustments, you are spitting in the face of your Creator and deeming Him incapable of making a winter month or any month not in the spring into a month of abundant harvest. Our abundance comes from Yahuwah alone, not our ability to plant crops. Malachian Rashan, 1 Kings, chapter 4, verse 7. Verse 7. And Shalimah had 12 officers over all Yasharal, which provided victuals for the king and his household. Each man his month in a year made provision. Shalimah had an abundant harvest all year round. When you keep the ways of Yahuwah, He will bless the work of your hands. Debaryam, Deuteronomy, chapter 28, verses 4 and 5. Verse 4. Blessed shall be the fruit of thy body, and the fruit of thy ground, and the fruit of thy cattle, the increase of thy kind, and the flocks of thy sheep. Verse 5. Blessed shall be thy basket and thy store. Hanuk, chapter 41, verse 6. Verse 6. The course of the moon's path to the righteous is light, but to the sinners it is darkness. In the name of Yahuwah Almighty One, who created a division between light and darkness and separating the Ruachath of men, strengthen the Ruachath of the righteous in the name of his own righteousness. The course of the moon's path to the righteous is light. Come back to the Father, brothers and sisters. Find the path of years and stop making these adjustments. The Master of the universe is waiting for you. We are on his time. He is not on ours. Shalom.